And that's where I was. Did not know how to do this, but I was going to learn it. And I figured it out and I did some stuff. And it's like learning stuff from watching the movies and, the interviews and stuff like that. You learn it. And like that, like I said, that's the epitome of what I am. I want to do this. I know I want to do this. They did it. I can do it.
Welcome to Battles at the Drive-In. I'm your host, Judy Boy. Today's guest is someone I've collaborated with a lot, and honestly, he's become more like a brother than just a friend. Gary Williamson is a self-taught special effects makeup artist who works in film, building creatures, rigging blood, and pulling off insane effects on tight budgets. Gary's worked on films like The Wright Family and Vampire Santa, where he's gained experience under the wing of the late, great Cleve Hall. Most recently, he worked on Troma's The Power of Positive Murder. If you know Troma, you already know that was a wild ride. He's creative, resourceful, and one of the most down-to-earth people doing this work. I'm excited to have you on here, Gary.
Hello, hello. Thank you for having me.
So, do you just want to tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into doing special effects?
I mean, honestly, people always ask me that, and I'm just like, I don't really know. Like, I just, I've always loved movies, and like, I watched the horror movies at a younger age, probably when I shouldn't have, but I think that's kind of how everyone starts these off. Uh, but I always found myself more interested in like, how does Freddy look that way, as opposed to, oh no, Freddy is there, he's scary. Ooh. So I think I was more interested in always how they looked and how they did certain stuff, and always had was gravitated towards that. Always loved Halloween, and then it wasn't until like years later that I found out that it's someone doing it and it's a job. Like what? So when I learned there was like supplies and stuff like that, I, always rigged up the Halloween store stuff, the drugstore makeups and this, that, and the other. And I was always mad that when I made my own costumes, that it didn't look like the one on the box, like a bald cap. You buy a latex bald cap from Spirit Halloween, it's perfect. It looks great on the guy. You put it on yourself, it's got like 2 inch thick seam, and it does not blend because latex doesn't blend. And I was always so pissed when that didn't look good. So I think before I even knew it was a thing, I knew it was my thing. And then when I just found out someone does it, that just kind of solidified it all. And then just from there, get the clay and you start from there and you keep going.
So that actually brings me up a question, because I don't think I've ever asked you this or we ever talked about it. And I've known you since like 2018, I think. But what was the first effect you ever remember making?
I don't know. It's got to be like it's got to be like latex and tissue, like burns, or like covering your mouth entirely, and having it blend poorly with foundation that doesn't work. Um,
Is that what you kind of did? Just
yeah,
like did stuff on yourself and saw it worked, saw it didn't?
yeah, pretty much. Because when I started doing it a lot more, like as like a thing I like doing, I didn't have a lot of friends that were like into it as much. So like I really had me to work on. And I've kind of followed that throughout the whole thing too. It's like I mean, other people have said this too, but I kind of follow in the footsteps of it, where I won't do something to someone else that I won't do to myself first, because I don't want to hurt somebody and I don't want to have an adverse effect on somebody else. Test it on me first. If it happens to me, big whoop. Then I know not to do it on someone else.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, probably just basic latex and cotton buildups. And then when I learned more about how prosthetics were made, I never really went back to that stuff as much, unless I absolutely had to for jobs or something. But I always got more comfortable with sculpting it and molding it and having more uniform control out of my pieces.
So I'm pretty ignorant when it comes to special effects. I will say what I do know, I've learned from you and only you. And like on sets I've
And you've
worked
done
on
some
where you're
stuff
not.
too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I was gonna say. On sets I've been on where you weren't there, I was able to call you or just pull from memory stuff you've taught me, and it turned out pretty good. But
Yeah, see?
you were saying like when you used to watch movies growing up, you were more interested in the nuts and bolts than what they were building, kind of, right? I don't know if
Yeah,
that's a solid analogy or not, but and
I think that works.
I know you really you really respect like Rick Baker, but were there any like special effects artists that you could you tell whose work was who when you were watching movies growing up, or was there a certain point where like you started to recognize that?
I think at a certain point you start to recognize certain staples, but like when I was younger, I don't think so because I didn't really know anybody's name yet. I hadn't done like the research or, hard book study of them yet. But then like when you go back and you watch them, it's like, oh yeah, like Tom Savini has this style. You could totally tell that Rick Baker had a hand in this because he likes this style. Um, and then even now, like there's still some makeup artists that pop up, and it's like, oh shit, they worked on that. I don't remember that, or I didn't know that.
Well, what separates
So,
as far as style, what separates like a Savini from a Baker from like a Dick Smith?
well, well, I think like Tom Savini, like if I think if you get into it for the horror aspect, everybody knows Tom Savini. That's like one of the first names you'll learn. You learn what he did,
I knew Tom Savini, so
uh,
yeah.
yeah. But like, Friday the 13th, Texas Chainsaw 2, The Burning, stuff like that. Um, he in his era of course the Dawn movies, the Dead movies, Day of the Dead, Dawn of the Dead. But like in his era, top notch stuff. Like he had, I think he was a Vietnam uh, photographer during the war, so he got to see like the real blood and guts and stuff like that. So like he always put that into his work,
Huh, I didn't know
and
that.
yeah, and so like that's what gave him the edge on realism because like I remember he always talks about like the jaw of dead people. It's like in movies they always die so romantically and peacefully, but in real life like the jaw goes slack because there's no more muscles keeping it together. So he's like he wanted to include that in like some of his zombies and stuff like that. But then like as the times go, the materials get dated and, the topics of what genres are and stuff like that change. And you could totally see the era shift of like what's a Savini and say what's a Rick Baker, but Dick Smith was like he's the godfather of makeup. All the not the casual, what's the word I'm looking for? All the common practices that we do today, he
Yeah,
basically invented.
really.
Like like if I do remember correctly, he invented the multi-piece prosthetic. That's layering the different pieces to make, one cohesive face. Because before that was all like one pieces. So like yeah, so he did that. He first did the breakdowns and the different molds and the different pieces, and it's just been history at that point. That's what everybody does now. Materials change and methods change, but that's routine.
What's some stuff he worked on? Because I can like a Savini, I can definitely tell because of like you said, it's like it's realistic, it's brutal, it's over the top. But
Yeah,
I don't think I could tell like I mean I know some stuff like Rick Baker's done or some stuff Cleve's done just because you've told me.
right.
But what is stuff some stuff like Dick Smith's worked on?
The Exorcist.
Oh, I love The
He did.
Exorcist.
Yeah, he did The Exorcist. He did Taxi Driver. You
Oh,
might be familiar with that one.
well, you're talking about my top 12 favorite movies right now. Let's keep naming them.
Yeah, see? Uh, Godfather.
He's literally the Godfather.
Uh, yeah, I think that's kind of where that name came from. Godfathered it up. Uh, he did Altered States. Uh, I do believe he did multi-piece prosthetics for one of the first times for Amadeus.
See, that's something we don't talk about like enough, I think, because when we think about special effects, and I think you've even fallen into this trap, and correct me if I'm wrong, maybe not a trap, but like I think when people think of special effects makeup artists, they immediately think horror. And none of the films you just named are horror films. But this is the guy who's the godfather of special effects, right? But you just named The Godfather, you named Taxi Driver.
Yeah,
I mean, The Exorcist is horror, but that's literally the only one you named.
yeah, yeah.
Why do you think that
And yeah,
is?
there's a plethora of others. I think I don't know. I think in the at least I don't know. Like I'm not gonna date it and say like 20, 30 years because I'm only what 34. But I'd say in the last 10, 15, 20 years, I think with the growth of like slasher flicks and social media and shows like Face Off, the makeup competition, it gets kind of like a blanket visual from from like layman's perspectives of it. You know what I mean? So like everyone sees the blood and the guts and stuff like that, and like, and I think that has a lot to do with the appeal of that as well. It's like because it's the cool fun stuff that you're not supposed to see that you want to see. Like we don't see the inside of people on a regular, so if you can see it on TV and it's not real, it's like, ooh, this is kind of forbidden, not forbidden. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like there's a lot, yeah, but like there's a lot more that goes into that too. It's like you can kind of sling blood and gunk things up and make it look all gnarly and not have to be anatomically correct. And that has its own appeal and its own place in certain things. But like when you get into the nuances of like realistic old age makeup and stuff like that, it's fucking gorgeous. Because like it takes a lot of skill and knowledge and it's a lot of wear and tear. And yeah, like old age makeups are like one of those. Like I haven't done a realistic old age makeup myself, like from scratch.
But you may be soon.
I might be soon. I might be soon. We'll see. But like getting the anatomy of how wrinkles work and stuff like that, there's a lot that goes into it. And like you have to make it look convincing when it's on. Like I kind of always make the comparison because like I'm not very good at beauty makeup, although I want to get better at it in practice. But with like beauty makeup versus horror makeup, men versus women. If I say like make a man into a zombie, if I mess up a part and make it like uneven or whatever, it kind of works for the effect. You know what I mean? But on a woman, if I'm doing say like a bridal makeup, if the symmetry is not there, or if like one side is, blushier than the other, you're seeing that from a mile away, and that sucks.
Yeah, for sure. The
and you,
special effects. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
no, you're good. I was gonna say because like even with prosthetics, if the color doesn't match and you just don't gunk it with blood to hide it, which you shouldn't do because you have a prosthetic and you should show the work. If it's not color matched correctly and like the camera or the lights don't help cooperate with it, you can see it from a mile away. Like actually, if we go back to Tom Savini, like the when Kevin Bacon dies in Friday the 13th with the arrow,
Hmm.
for the time, great effect. Even now, it's still a great effect how they pull it off with being under the bed and all that fun stuff. But like if you look at it now and say like 4K, which older movies, as much as I love them, should not be in 4K. I don't care. They shouldn't be. You can see like there's a latex sheen to the body that doesn't match Kevin Bacon's face.
Is
And I
that
see it
the
and I'm like, ugh.
is that the kill they tried to emulate for the Wright family? I haven't seen the movie, so I don't know how it looks in the movie, but
Which kill?
it was the one in the cabin. It was like the bedroom scene. The Kevin Bacon one you're talking about the arrow,
Oh,
because or was that
no,
from?
no, no, no. No, for that, I don't know if we can talk about that or not, but we're going to. Uh, no, I just did what we kind of did for your movie,
Which one?
Praying Mantis.
Praying Mantis. Okay.
Remember when I had Molly's brother slice the ribs?
Yes. Okay. Okay.
So, so we were gonna do something like that, but like the way the camera was, it wasn't really working. So we just hooked a bloodline up to the knife, and then I pushed the plunger from behind. And I think it was Cleve who had the knife and did the slice.
Okay. I see.
So yeah, so that's just like like I don't, that could be a Savini gag as well. Like a lot of my like gags are Savini gags. So like you can't knock the guy. He did some stuff, you know what I mean? Like it's classic stuff. And actually I think we did some stuff on that movie as well that was Savini uh like he kind of did the machete thing. You cut the piece of the machete out and you put it on the arm and it looks like it's in the arm, you know?
Yeah.
Because that's what Savini did. Like that's how he approaches his makeups too, as they're magic tricks. So how do you do this magic trick in front of your audience? What do you have to use? You know, this, that, and the other.
Well, that's what I was gonna say when you were talking like a couple minutes ago. Is so filmmaking as itself is an art, right? But it's collaborative. But I don't think there's any other department within filmmaking, and I could be wrong, but I've worked in a lot of departments. That's like its own separate art form. Like, yeah, the special effects at the end of the day they come to collaborate, but they have their own like I don't even know how to put it. Like it's like you guys have so much pre-production compared to like okay, if I'm on the camera crew, we know what we're planning ahead of time. We know what we're going to do, but we're not really building like you're sculpting, you're building, you're doing makeup.
Yeah,
So it's like
yeah,
the art before the art.
yeah. Like with if you want like elaborate effects, you've got to get with us way before you do anything else. Honestly, like if you want me to rip someone in half, I can't do that the day of. You got to give me like a month.
Yeah, and if you want, actually, I was gonna ask you about that a little later, but to talk about like the unrealistic expectations on the independent film scene of directors and producers to just for you to do stuff on the spot, and it's like you should have told me this months ahead of time.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't have
Or
to
like,
we don't have to specifically like name anybody, or you might even name me at
oh
some
no,
point, but just
I'm not throwing nobody under the bus, but no, there's been cases where it's like I'll talk to someone for like 2 or 3 weeks about something. I'll have it set up that way, like it'll be ready to go, and then they'll be like, on the day they'll be like, "Hey, can we shoot from this angle?" No, no, you can't because we just talked about this angle, and I built it off of this angle.
yeah, yeah. And I think that's why
Like
like
it's
working on the Power of Positive Murder, that was the most professional set I've worked on so far, and like I said, we've been doing this since
agreed, same.
2018. And what even though like there were some hiccups with special effects and I mean the whole production, there's always going to be hiccups, but what I liked is that you guys were like doing video tests and stuff ahead of time and just really trying to make sure all this is going to work when we go to do it on camera.
Yeah. Like for that, there, like you said, there were hiccups, and in our area there was plenty. Some totally on me, others, ether of the universe of how it goes. But yeah, a lot of stuff changed and a lot of stuff got put in, a lot of stuff got taken out, but you just kind of adapt from that. And at that certain point, that doing like test footage, that was important because like I did something and it just kept failing over and over and over. It was very discouraging. Uh, so yeah, when we got to the footage testing it, it's like, okay, boom, we did it once. There it is. Boom, we did it twice. There it is. Boom, three times in a row. We got it on film. It works. It's ready for set. So we're good. We're confident. We're feeling good. No more, bullshit. No more letdowns. Whatever. Get to the set. Just rig it all up. Everyone's ready. Three, two, one. What's it do? It fucking fails. It fucking fails.
Man, that's got to be deflating.
It is, especially like you said, that's the most professional set you've been on. Same here. I think it's the biggest crew I've been a pleasure of being a part of.
Same.
Like there's a lot of people there. Like that was a camp and a half. You know what I mean? And it was cool of Lloyd and Ben bringing us in, letting us do that stuff. Uh, Definitely an eye opener and an experience. Um,
Yeah, man.
but
Like
yeah, it's like,
Vampire
but the
Santa, or sorry, I was gonna say Vampire Santa or the Wright family. Like, by no means were those small sets. Like, there was a lot of cast, a lot of crew. But this just kind of like you put those two cast and crew together, and this one still just kind of like just topples over it.
yeah, yeah, 100%. And like even just like the set locations stuff like that, being able to have our hands in places like that, we wouldn't see it otherwise. Bright Family, we had a cool little location for that too, like a whole summer camp. That's it's kind of badass. But
Yeah, that's
Power of
true too.
Positive Murder, we had a mansion.
Well, disclaimer for the listeners: we had a van.
Yeah, we had a van, but we got to go in the mansion, so it counts.
Oh yeah, I know like it was at times it was like a struggle being there. We were only there for what like 3 weeks of the whole 3 months that everyone else was there.
Yeah, we got there late.
But I mean, even that, it just, even though there were times of like, oh man, there's nothing to eat. I ate like 3 cans of cold spam, just like a caveman. I just popped it open and ate it. I've never done that in my life, and I might do it again because it was pretty good. But I'll say that overall experience was just like, when it was done, like those last few days of filming just felt so like fulfilling, and everyone just felt like I don't know, I just felt connected to everyone those last few days.
Oh yeah, like I've heard it before with like trauma sets and stuff like that and people, but like, it's a gathering of more or less outcasts. The weirdos, the fun people, the alternative folk. They get together and they're having a great time making movies. Like, yeah, they're rowdy and rambunctious, but it's fun. And it's there's no judgment. And like even when things like fucked up, like I was really hard on myself when something went wrong. And I so many people were like, dude, it looks badass, dude. This works. Like, don't stress yourself. We could do this again. Like it's everyone's reassuring and supporting themselves. They're not breaking anybody down, nothing like that. It's keeping everyone on their feet so we can make some cool fucking movies. And that's
Yeah,
what I really liked about that experience. Even if things did not go as smooth as I wanted to, I still wouldn't trade it for the world. Like that was a great experience for me, and I'm so glad to be. I mean, I'm not full. I wouldn't say like we're fully blown in, but like I feel like I'm part of the Troma family a little bit. I helped contribute something to it, and I still see folks that I worked on to this day. I still keep in contact, like Frankie Bones, and I see him more regularly than anybody else. But I still talk to Ben Johnson and uh see Lloyd and stuff like that on social media, stuff like that. So yeah, like definitely a good experience. No complaints.
yeah. I think it's just when you're working with, well, I mean, it can differ. So just, I think any creative person or anyone that's doing any kind of art, like we're insecure to an extent, always.
Yeah,
But I think it's great when you can like work with people who are secure enough to like tell you that your shit is good, like you're doing a good job, and kind of,
exactly.
because they know what it's like too, and I
Right, exactly.
I do remember one fun story if I can tell it. Uh and I didn't mean anything by this, but I was, on that film I was working on the with the camera crew. I was the second AC. So I was inside the mansion all day while Gary was slaving away building special effects. I remember he was having one bad day. I don't know if you remember this conversation, but we would text throughout the day and get kind of we would just kind of update each other on like, what this is what I'm doing, this is what I'm doing, you know. And I remember one day like you were having a bad day, but I was really excited because Lloyd offered me a monster from his private stash, and I told you, and you were like, "Good for fucking you."
I remember that.
But I think that day is the day where we both like started to really have fun on set.
Yeah,
Yeah, and that
and I remember you saying too. It's like during the finale of one of the scenes, like not gonna say nothing, but you said like, I have never seen you smile like this before. Like you look the happiest you've ever been in your life. And I was running around having a good time. It's not often I get to do that kind of shit.
no man, when we wrapped that day, I don't think that was the last day of shooting. I think we had one day after that. When we wrapped that day, like that whole day just felt like it was in slow motion. And again, I'm not going to say too much because the movie's not out yet, but just it was so like I felt in slow motion. The blood was flying everywhere. It was just, I don't know. It was beautiful. It was a beautiful day.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
Other than when I can't even say making my own movies is fun all the time because it's stressful, but I'll say other than working on like my own stuff, like my own produced stuff, like that's the funnest day I've had working on a set.
Oh, for sure. 100%. Yeah, because like there's been like smaller projects I've worked on where like say like a blood gag, whatever goes great. The lead up to that was like, this is bullshit. I hate this. Like I haven't slept in 3 days. This room is cramped. You wanted something 20 minutes ago that I told you takes an hour. Like, ugh. Let me pull this plunger and get this shit over with so I can leave. But with that said, no, like even like I said, Even if things didn't go right or it was a bad day, it was still a good day. I've always said that a bad day on set is better than any good day at a 9 to 5. And I know because I got one of those fucking things too.
100%. 100%. That said though, the last thing I'll say about it is that like there could be a movie about making that movie.
I do believe there's going to be, sir.
Good. I hope they keep everything in, like the bad, the good, the ugly.
Oh, if it's anything like the Poltergeist one, uh, in the words of Frankie Bones, we might have topped how fucking rough that went. Did you ever check out the Poltergeist one when they kept putting it on the call sheet?
No, I didn't.
I don't know if the link's still available. I think I still have the call sheets. If it still works, I'll send it to you.
See,
Uh,
that was an issue I had on that set the whole time because originally, remember, I was there just to take you, and I was going to help with special effects, and then I got onto the camera crew as the second AC. Well, I was never on the call sheet, so I was like relying on you, and that was even sketchy. So I remember I was just wake up really early. I'd go down to the little diner every morning, do what I had to
yep.
do there. Great little diner. I can't remember the name of it. I wish I could shout it out right now. Do you remember the name? It was
Oh
the Hungry
shit.
Goat. It was the Hungry
The
Goat.
Hunger Go. Yes, 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 yes.
So if you're ever in Glen Spey, New York, go check out the Hungry Goat. Amazing,
Absolutely.
amazing food, great people, very, very community driven. But I go down the Hungry Goat every morning, do what I had to do, and I would just like kind of pace around waiting to see like Lucas or York or somebody else from the camera crew, and then I would just go do that. And what actually helped was when we had to start doing the COVID testing, because then everybody had to wait together to do that. So then I always knew
Yeah, we
like,
were on the
okay,
same
I'm
spot
on
for
time.
once.
Yeah, yeah. But before that, it was hell trying to know when my call time was.
Yeah. Oh, see, and that's one thing too, like with the COVID tests, as they were going, like the first couple of days or whatever, it's fine, it's whatever. I've done the COVID test before, you do the cotton swab, all fun, all stuff.
Yeah.
But then as we got more into like working, like more blood and paints and stuff like that, as I was doing the cotton swab, more stuff was coming out of my nose. It's like the cotton swab was like red at a certain point. I was like, that's not me, I swear, that's just fake blood.
Is it just like from
But I
like
felt,
breathing in this stuff while you're working or rubbing your nose or?
yeah, or just splashback or something,
Ah,
like
yeah, yeah.
it gets in there. Uh, it was Cass doing the COVID test. I believe I was like, oh yeah, there's a juicy one for you, a little something on it. Ben did it a few times too. Same thing. I just like, there it is. But I didn't want to leave it like hangers and shit on it. But like at a certain point, at least they're not boogers. They're just blood spots. I don't know if that's better or worse, but hey, that's what we're working with.
Probably better. But to pull back a little bit, um, you said something else when you were talking a little while ago, and I wanted to ask you about like. So I think the reason we initially clicked is that even though I don't know how to make them, I love practical effects, and I think you love practical effects, obviously. So how do you feel about like everything being like AI and CGI now?
So that's a rocky road for me a little bit. Because, like, all right, so for a while I was like an elitist. I was like, CGI is trash. It's killing the industry. Blah, 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 blah.
But there is like a
But, like,
balance, like where they can help each other, right?
100%. Yeah. Like, I'm a firm believer that if you can do it practically, you should not even consider digital and vice versa. But they have a very healthy marriage together. Like, it's like, say I make a demon that's got to fly. In our budgets and stuff like that, we're not doing wire work and shit like that. We're not making animatronic wings. So if like shitty CGI wings can come in and make it fly, cool. But the demon itself should be practical. 100%. You know what I mean? Balance them out. Or even
Yeah.
just giving something like a digital coat, a little extra oomph. Like like I always use this as an example. The first Silent Hill movie, all those monsters are practical and they're beautiful, no matter how flawed it is in lore or whatever. We're not talking about that. But but they're beautiful practical effects. But like the say the patient monster or the armless monster, he's a practical monster, but he's got like a digital coating that gives you a little extra sheen and shine and veinage and stuff you wouldn't really do practically in that circumstance. So there's a healthy balance for it. And at the same time, it's like I know everyone wants to do digital now because it's the way, and sometimes it is the cheaper route to go. But you also got to know what you're working with. Like I've tried my hand at some digital stuff just to see if I could get some extra like skill set in my pocket.
Hmm.
Shit's hard. It's hard. It's tough. I'm gonna
Yeah.
get back to it and practice eventually. But like, if you're a lower budget and you don't have like a Stan Winston budget or anything like that, play to your strengths. Like, if you know the monster's not gonna look that good, do what they did in like the original Jurassic Park, which still holds up. By the way, that CGI still beautiful. They play to the shadows. Like when that T Rex is running, I'm pretty sure that's a full digital T Rex running. They built a full practical one for most of the stuff, but in motion, it's got to be running. But it's in the rain, it's in the dark, there's trees, there's wind, there's this and the other. There's a lot of distraction taking it out that grounds it in the scene. And that's what you should play with if you have like a lower budget. Keep your big CGI monster in the dark.
And you see, I think that like, so I just did like I did a video on like ranking the movie brats, and I did like my first episode with my friend, like ranking them together. But that was a point like I was trying to make, is because he had George Lucas last, and I have him third. And I think that George Lucas doesn't get enough credit for like how he evolved filmmaking. Like I think he's the first person, or at least the first person, to really refine like doing practical effects and then upgrading them with digital. And I don't think we think
I
about him
mean,
when we think about special effects.
so me personally, I don't think I'll ever forgive him for that Jabba the Hutt.
No, it's
But
bad. I hate
that's
that he.
just me.
I absolutely hate that he went back and like re-edited them like 10 years later. I hate that.
Yeah,
But like
yeah.
the ambition is like with okay, so he's directly linked to Jurassic Park, which you were just talking about. You know what I mean? Because him and
Yeah,
Spielberg are
yeah.
close. So like I don't think he gets
Oh
enough
no,
credit for like his innovation. And I know he wasn't the one
oh no,
doing it,
I,
but
I
he's the
get it
one that
100%.
yeah.
It's like there's a new toy that everyone wants to play with, but everyone's scared to. It's like fuck it, let me play with it, see what I can do. And he did.
Yeah. And I mean
Like
Star Wars
old school
and
Star Wars has like some of the, I mean, I'm not gonna say best, but innovative ways to solve problems practically, because that's what it was. It was practical stuff. Like you had your early digital stuff like with the lightsabers and all, but even that was somewhat practical because it was chroma key. Like you still had to have a rod and reflective material. It was still a practical effect in a sense. But yeah, well, like when the CGI developed, in its infancy, yeah, he wanted to pop it in there and see what he could do to make things better. He gave it a shot. I think he polished it a lot more when it came to the prequels. They're a little dated now, but they looked good then.
yeah, for sure. How do you think like silent films, right?
Mhm.
You didn't work on The Bachelor directly, but you consulted me on that, and you
Yeah,
kind of got my mind like thinking about, oh, I didn't know they did all this stuff to, you know, they made the actors really pale to make the lighting come up, and just wearing black and white so that it pops on camera. But if you
yeah.
watch like other silent horrors and stuff like that, like the way I feel like the pathway for CGI was them like splicing film and superimposing film over top of each other to create like those effects. Because
Oh
yes,
yeah, like mirror work and shit like that. Yeah.
like they're all practical, but they're all like, they're all in camera, but like they're not digital, but like they have the same bones as digital.
Yeah, like if they did that same movie today, that would be 100% a digital effect.
Yes, yeah, 100%.
Because why would you make a transparent ghost practically and be a huge pain in the ass? No, just render it digitally, pop 'em in there. Like maybe do a practical ghost, but then like in editing, desaturate them or something. Like
Well, personally, I would do it the
it's
hard
just
way, just
easier.
because it's just me. But
I
I know.
would too, and you know that. And I'd be mad when it doesn't work the first time.
I think honestly, when we've worked together, we've had pretty good success of our stuff working the first time. Like
Yeah,
Like the only time I dabbled in digital was when we shot Tiny Shaman, and the first time when I played the shaman walking down the hallway, and I couldn't be behind the camera, and they kind of locked you in a bathroom when I told you to go behind the camera to make sure it works.
Yeah.
They're just like, hey, no, we're filming this. Get in the bathroom. No, I told him to be behind the camera, but so I couldn't see, and then
It's
like
like,
all the plastic wrap was like showing, and basically, to the listener, if you, I doubt you've seen Tiny Shaman. If you haven't, go check it out.
yeah, go see
But
it. What are you waiting for? It's there. It's free. Watch it. Mm.
we had a monster that was not a tiny shaman. He was about like 8 or 9 feet tall, and the floor was supposed to be covered in like goo while he walked through the hallway. Camera picked up the. We put down. What did we put down? Was it just like stuff you put down when you're like painting a house to kind of,
Yeah, it was just
yeah,
like plastic tarp shit. Yeah.
plastic tarp, just so we wouldn't ruin the floor because we were renting the house we were using. We didn't own it. But basically, so I went back and I actually tried to edit that scene to try to like add the glue digitally to cover this stuff, and it is very hard to do digital because I couldn't figure it out. I just watched tutorial after tutorial, and I just couldn't make something that looked right. And I think a lot of times with like independent films, when you're doing digital, to me it just doesn't look right. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's why I think independently, like practical, is the way to go because
Oh, for sure.
it just looks goofy sometimes.
Yeah. And you gotta think too, it's like on these independent crews, like one dude's doing like four jobs, you know what I mean? Like for you alone, I've done special effects, I've ran sound, I've done clapboard, I've been cue card guy,
You've acted.
I've acted a little bit here and there. I'm usually a hand stand-in. I don't know what that says about me.
Hey, it's
Hand
still
stuff?
acting.
I don't know. Yeah. But
You
yeah,
were
so
you were
like
a putty
but the,
monster.
I was a putty monster. But yeah, like when you get into the bigger stuff, yeah, they probably got like five or six guys solely doing the post digital stuff. So like one, they're well expertised in what they're doing, so they already know the deal. And you've got one guy doing this, one guy doing that, one guy doing this, and then it all comes together in the edit. Like in indie field, like you want to throw digital effects at the fucking practical guy who's running sound too? That's kind of fucked up.
That's not to go back to this too long, but that's another thing I learned on the Troma set because I was also used to being a man of many hands and you know running sound, like even on my own productions, running sound, directing, acting, um, doing gaffing, um, a special effect, like everything,
Yeah,
And that was the first set where it's like, oh, I don't have to do anything other than my job.
right.
I'm kind
Weird,
of I'm
right?
kind of bored.
Honestly, that's like my day job too. It's like I got hired as this, and you want me to do this, this, and this. All right, we talking more money? No, and no, get the fuck out of here. Like I like doing my job and getting out. I like getting in there doing other stuff too, but like when it's like when it's a tight knit one, it's like, can I just focus on my thing for a second? Come on.
Quick side note: we got to see when Chaz is doing another run of the one man Bronx Tale show because I always forget about it, but I just remembered,
Yes.
and yeah, I definitely want to go see that.
I remember we were talking about last year, and I just think our schedules did not mesh for that at all.
Yeah, we tried, but we couldn't squeeze it in.
Yeah, I definitely want to see that.
But back to you. Well, what's the most What's the most challenging practical effect you've ever done?
The most challenging practical effect you said?
Yeah,
Sorry, you cut out a little bit. Um, I don't know. I still get a little timid over like squibs and shit like that. Like I don't use um explosives or anything like that because again, I'm not licensed for that. I don't have experience in that. I don't want to put somebody in jeopardy that I wouldn't do myself. So I use a lot of like air tubes and stuff like that. I have experience with it. I did some stuff for the Troma guys for that. Um, but it's always like a see what happens when it happens things. Like, because when I was doing the test, I was sending you the footage for that, like with the fire extinguishers in my front yard, blast after
yeah.
blast after blast. Sometimes it goes smooth and looks great. Other times you got to do a little extra here. But more often than not, you pop a hose and then nothing works. And that's always the fear for me with that kind of stuff is popping the hose because it's a reset. It's, more often than not in like indie stuff, you have one wardrobe. So if the gunshot didn't work, well, that's what you got because we don't have another shirt. Oops. That's what I liked. That's one of the little things I liked about this Troma project. They had multiple wardrobes. That's a good, fun experience. The wardrobe thing was its own experience, but I liked being able to have another shot if we needed it, if time allowed it.
But I could see why that's more stressful because when you're doing like a makeup or a monster build or something, you can see it and you can see what it looks like, and it's semi permanent. But with like squibs and blood rigs and shit, it's like you got to rely on the machinery, and machinery can fail.
Yeah, like that's a very in the moment thing. You can test it all you want, but I am the epitome of Murphy's Law. So, I mean, that's how that goes. You just cross everything that you can cross and hope it goes well. But, like, putting on a prosthetic, it's there. You glue it on, you paint it up, you do what you need to do with it. Looks good or it don't look good. Hopefully, more often than not, it looks good. But if it looks good, you're ready to go, it's done. Super cool. But, like that, it's mechanical. It's always room for error somewhere. And I haven't necessarily polished it in my methods to make it flawless every time. And I think if you kind of like listen to other makeup artists who do that stuff too, it it always goes wrong somewhere. Once or twice. Somewhere. It always does.
Is there a scene you worked on that's like your proudest, or maybe there's a scene that you were supposed to work on, like in the script you were really excited for, and then you just that project fell through for some reason or another?
mm, I don't know. It's because that's my thing too, is like you know this well about myself, is that I am my worst enemy. I critique myself to all end, and I don't hold myself to a high regard with what I've done. It's like everything I do is shit. Ah,
Okay,
but
well
you're like,
take
no.
that out of the equation. Take that out of the equation, and if you think back to all the effects you've done, which one would you like if you were just watching the movie? Like which one are you like, oh, that's pretty good. I like that.
With all the hiccups that happened with the suit, I do like how the shaman came out. I think he looks good for the circumstance. The face is definitely good. The mask is good. Um,
Yeah, definitely. I think the shaman body is something we could have like if we had the capabilities and the budget to build a whole body, like that would have been great. But if we had
yeah,
someone capable of, enhancing the CGI, that would have been one of the times when we could have used it and helped us out greatly.
yeah. But no, I think like of all my effects, I don't think I have like an effect. I think it's just more experience for me. Actually, you know what? I will say, working on the Wright family. This is gonna blow your mind that I'm actually doing this one in praise. But that was my first time meeting Cleve, working with Cleve, being all up night, all up all night with Cleve for hours and hours and hours in a cabin, just us. Um, there's a scene where I think she gets like her throat cut with barbed wire. I think that's what it was.
Mm-hmm.
But that was a idea that Cleve introduced, and he taught me that stuff. And he basically said that he takes vinyl tubing that's super thin, and he paints it uh, silver, and puts the barbs on it. Makes it look like a wire, but puts holes in it, and you can plunge blood through it. So when you tighten it around the neck, it looks like it's digging into the neck. And so we were trying to do something like that, and the idea just was not working how he wanted to. And like he was like, "Yeah, we're just like screw this idea. It's not gonna work. It sucks." Blah blah blah. And I was like, "Well, no, we could totally do this idea if we do it this way. Like if you come behind and you do this and do that, that effect still works." He's like, "Yeah, you're right. Let's try that." So we did, and that's what we did. So I haven't seen the movie, so I don't know if that kept in the cut or not. But I remember him going into that bathroom and pulling off the effect. So that was kind of like I said, not really my effect. It was kind of me piggybacking off on his. But
Yeah, but
like
you made
it's
a
the
suggestion that made it work, and like he affirmed
yeah,
it. So yeah.
exactly, that experience. I think that's what I hold high to anything is those experiences. Like, because I've been a huge fan of Cleve for the longest time, and I got the chance to work with him, and I got him to talk up an idea. It's like that's cool. And like even meeting Lloyd for the first time, I've known of Lloyd for years. I never met him, but I remember first day I saw him, we were upstairs. I was sitting in a chair. I guess he had been sitting in previously before we got there. We were just waiting for to take the actress down to the makeup or to do the scene. We had just done her makeup. Lloyd comes up, introduces himself, says hi. I stand up, I shake his hand. He says, "I knew I recognized greatness when I saw you sitting in my chair." I was like, "Oops."
That's quite the Lloyd
And
impersonation.
and yeah, and then after that, like we talked a little bit here and there. Uh, and I remember we had to leave temporarily, but I told him I was coming back, and I was like, "When I come back, I'm getting a photo with you. Like it's happening." And he started to get up and started giving me one of my. I was like, "No, no, no, no! I gotta earn it. I'll come back. I'll come back for the big stuff. Do my bit. You like it, then I get the photo." We pulled off the big stuff. I'm drenched in blood. He's got a huge smile on his face. I walk up to him and go, "Did I earn that photo or what?" And that's where I got it. So it's
uh,
definitely the experiences. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah. I remember my first like real conversation with Cleve on the Wright family. So like, when we were at Derek's house and stuff, I passed him and had casual like hello, hey, whatever. Met him. But we were at the campsite and I had to just get out. Like everyone was in that big room with like the fireplaces and stuff.
Yeah.
I just had to get out of there because, we had been there for about a week. I was stressed. So I walked outside. Cleve was out there smoking. And we just talked for like a couple minutes. And I remember one thing he said to me was, I don't know how the fuck Gary doesn't smoke cigarettes. And then he predicted that you would start. And his prediction thus far has been wrong.
Yeah. Maybe one day. Maybe one day.
So
Yeah, I remember that. He smoked like a chimney and drank a lot of coffee.
I drink a lot of coffee too. Or I used to.
Yeah. Actually, I remember that. I remember when they were talking about like he wanted like hazelnut cream or whatever. At the time, I was working at Dunkin' Donuts. So I was like, I got one better. Brought the hazelnut swirl. Brought a whole jug of hazelnut swirl. Like, there you go, Cleve. I don't know if you ever used it or not, but
Because that set was 3 weeks, and but they weren't all together. Like we went for a week, we were back for like a month, went for a week, back for like a month, went back, right?
right. Yeah, it
Okay,
was a
yeah.
very broken up set, like, very on off and on.
And that was far too, man. Like just for the
Yeah.
listener, that was like 9 hours from where we live.
Yeah.
The drive never felt bad though, maybe because we were like just talking and time was flying. But yeah, it never
You
felt
know what
bad.
drive was rough? I mean, granted, you've kind of been there for me, getting the locations, being the driver,
You're gonna say
which I'm
Kentucky.
working on. Yeah, I'm gonna say Kentucky.
Kentucky was a terrible
Oh dear
drive.
Lord, that drive was fucking awful.
The drive back, so the drive there was awful, but the drive back was even worse. Just because we were both in like
Yeah,
shitty moods and we were hungry, hadn't really
I
slept
remember
for
we
like a
was.
week.
I mean, we tend to get to a point where like when we work together and we're together for a long period of time, the stress of the events get to us, and we do get in an argument. It gets heated. But I remember
Well,
that was like our first big one in the parking lot. You're like, "What do you want to stab me?"
look, I was stabbed like 10 years prior to that, okay? I was expecting to get stabbed again.
It's like we ain't gonna go that deep, man. Come on.
No, man, but I
Just gonna
think
get each other's faces and push a little.
that's why when I met you on Night of the Axe, and like we talked about you working on, at that time I was going to make Charm City, which was too fucking ambitious, and I still haven't even started to think about making. I was stupid back then.
Still want to do that. That sounds good.
Me too. We got to get there where we can get the funding. But when I met you in there, and I was like, oh, maybe this is a guy I'll work with. But yeah, like I think we can fight like that because just like I said in my intro, like not to get all mushy on the podcast, but you've become more of like a brother than a friend. And I think, and that argument you mentioned, that's how it kind of ended. Like you told me I was like a brother to you, and we hugged it out. So like, definitely
Yeah, I
appreciate having
remember
you
that now.
around, despite all the argument. And we guys, listen to the listeners if we have any. When we say we argue, it gets pretty deep and pretty bad. But we always come back from it.
Yeah, because we both know it's just the stress of the situation. We're both in situations. We're away from home. It's been sometimes like a week before we've had a shower. Things are not good.
They're barely
So
eating
we
like.
both have, yeah, we both have boiled tempers, and so like when it gets together, it happens. Shit happens, but we get over it, and yeah, it's whatever.
And I think in like
Yeah, they
a
become.
sorry, I was gonna say like
As,
any good friendship relationship, like I think you have to be able to do that sometimes for I mean it doesn't have to be as toxic as we get sometimes, but you should be able
true.
to confront each other. So I like
Yeah,
that.
like any relationship, like whether it's like romantic or family or friends, if you're one of those people that say, "Oh yeah, we never argue or we have the perfect relationship," then you have probably a shitty relationship because you're lying. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
Like if you've been long term with someone, like I said, platonically, intimately, whatever, doesn't matter. Not every day is perfect. Not every day is hunky dory. And some days are really, really bad. And if that's not expressed, then either one or both of you are full of shit.
These are life lessons, guys. Life lessons. You thought this was going
Oh,
to
and
be
my
about
life's
special
terrible,
effects and
so don't.
movies.
Yeah, my life's terrible, so don't take advice from me, but I'm just observing.
So, to kind of get away from talking about you personally for a while, just tell me about like movies that you like, that you love, that kind of shaped you, and go into detail like about specific scenes, effects, whatever.
Well, I think if I remember correctly, I think the one movie that I grew up watching that I got fascinated with, like the monster, was Wishmaster. Did you ever see that?
I haven't.
You should check that out. It's cheesy, it's campy, but like it's got a lot of like horror icons and stuff in it.
Okay.
Um, basically, it's a take on a genie. Genie gets out of a gem from someone who rubs it, grants him three wishes. If the three wishes get granted, the prophecy is fulfilled, and the jinn gets to bring his species into the world. I'd say the first two are the best. I would skip the rest. But the creature design of the jinn, it's fantastic. I love it. I loved it when I was a kid. I still love it today. Even if I can see a little bit more of like, oh, this like the chess piece is a little stiff and whatever. Still great. I do believe Robert Kurtzman did that, and he is the K of K and B.
The first movie where I actually noticed the special effects, and it's still a movie I love, and they're so fucking cheesy. But I I secretly love Vietnam era films for some reason, and I think this classifies as one. But have you ever seen the movie House?
I have, but not a lot, and not in a long time. So not
Oh
enough
man,
to recall a lot of it.
I used to watch it every day, man. Like it's like they got little creatures that are running through the house, and there's like a zombie soldier that like the guy was in war with
Yeah,
back in
I
the
remember the
day, and
zombies. I remember the zombie soldier. Like he's in like in a full on helmet and everything, and he's like all kind of like he's like brownish, dark red, and kind of melty looking.
yeah,
You were talking about little creatures and stuff like that. You know, a little creature movie I always think of that's like that.
Gremlins.
No, not
No,
Gremlins.
oh,
The
what?
Gate
I did see The Gate recently, actually.
for the first time.
Yeah, that's where they like dig the hole in the
Oh,
backyard.
yeah, yeah. The kids open up the portal to hell
Yeah,
accidentally, and the little gremlin guys come out and they kind of like form together and make a big one.
yeah, yeah. That's a
Yeah,
weird movie.
that those creatures always stuck with me as a kid. Like for the longest time, I didn't know what that movie was. I like it was one of those things. It's like you remember it as a kid. It's like, am I remembering that correctly? Did that really happen? Was that really a thing? You know what I mean? And then like I learned what it was, and I was like, that's the one. That's them. But like those little guys, like those always stuck with me. And like that's kind of like a mix of practical. Well, it's mostly all practical, but like it's playing the downsizing. It's upscaling and downsizing. But practical guys. There's some digital ones in there too, but it's very early digital, and you could tell.
Yeah.
Actually, I saw not too long ago. I don't think it was an auction, but I think someone found an old ET, and the years have not been kind to him. Like the foam is rotting, and you can see all the wires and stuff inside.
Like a
It's like
full
nightmare fuel
size
ET.
movie used ET.
Yeah,
Oh man, I
yeah.
want
I
that.
think he was. I think he was like half size because I think it was like mechanical for like the face.
Yeah.
So you needed the wires and stuff like that. I think it was half torso, but still, ET's pretty big.
So you mentioned like Halloween and Friday the 13th. Like what slashers like inspired you or were your favorites at least?
um, I've always loved the original Halloween. They kind of coined the modern slasher. Jason followed shortly after. That was Sean Cunningham kind of like going, just do Halloween, but do it this guy, you know. Um
Yeah, I remember too. I was watching like a documentary for Halloween, and can't remember if it was John Carpenter or like the producer, but he really wanted to not show anything like any of the violence. He wanted to he was like an Alfred Hitchcock fan, and he wanted to really like imply it all.
yeah, I mean, well, like that's like the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Everyone always says it's like one of the goriest movies I've ever seen. There's like literally like two drops of blood in that movie.
Yeah, they don't show anything. It's just all implied.
Yeah, yeah, it's all implied. It's all done well enough to the point where your brain fills in the spaces. And that's what I like about like some of the early effects with like Universal Monsters. We knew we were gonna get there eventually. Yeah. But like the Wolfman transforming, or seeing Dracula come through the shadows. It's all done like with clever cuts and overlay.
The
Like
Wolfman
yeah, you
that
get
that was done with like
like
superimposing, right? Like they would do like part of the transformation, and then they would lay the film over top of it, and just kind of
well
like
like it's kind of like, I don't know if that's what you call it. I think so, but I think it's also like dissolving, kind of like stop motion. So like Lon Chaney would be sitting there in the chair, right?
uh huh.
And like he'd be still. That was Lon Chaney. Yeah, that was Lon Chaney. He's sitting there in the chair, and they'd put a little bit of hair on. They'd cut. They'd put a little more hair on. They'd cut. They put a little more hair on. They'd cut. They put a little more hair on. They cut. And like on the hands, and then that's where you'd see that transformation happen. And I believe that the face does the same thing, like with an overlay. Like you see it slowly, like transparently lay over. Um, but then like after that, you don't need to see that every time. Like the first time sells it, and you're like, sweet, okay, cool. That's what's happening to him when this happens. So like when he goes like past a tree in like at night, he crosses over the tree, boom, he's a wolf.
Yeah,
You
because your
did the
brain already is
transition
telling
right
you
there.
what happened. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. You didn't need to see it full fledged. You couldn't really see it full fledged all the time like that. So that's how they did that.
Where do special effects spawn from? Could you? I don't know how well versed you are in like the history, but I'm not either. So like, what's the journey of special
Uh,
effects? Like the timeline.
I don't know.
Universal monsters are pretty early on as far as like films considered.
Yeah, like that's Jack Pierce, 100%, and like that's all like before the building of prosthetics and stuff like that. Like that was all done like on the subject. Like when like when he did Frankenstein's monster, that's all latex and collodion that's built up in layers. So basically like a latex buildup essentially. And like I remember reading a thing, I think they said that he just stayed in that makeup and like slept in it because putting it back on was just time consuming and awful. So he just laid still and just got his sleep in, and then woke up the next day, a couple little touch ups, but yeah, he just stayed in the makeup.
Didn't you do something like that when you were doing like a face cast? Like the guy was sleeping?
Oh,
Randy, right?
I have, yeah, I haven't had anybody fall asleep on me, but Randy for Night of the Axe, he was the big baddie. I had facial prosthetics sculpted for him, and it was like 5 in the morning. I had to wrap because I had work in like an hour, and I was like 3 hours away. So that was a fun ride over the highways and stuff like that. Um, but no, he was asleep in the I think it was the master bedroom, and I just put the bald cap on him and glued that down. I was like, all right, you can go lay down, go to sleep. You lay down, went to sleep. I put the piece on him as best as I could, the way he was positioned. Came off a little uncentered, so he was looking a little more like Toxie, which it's kind of a weird callback or, foreshadowing, I guess.
He does. He does. I didn't think about that. I was going to say that makeup looked really good. And I think
Yeah,
Sean, who was the director, he wanted to look like Jason, right? That's what he was going
a
for.
little bit like Jason, but like your own vibe with it kind of thing, you know?
Yeah. But
So I kind of
you
did,
made
and I
Toxie Voorhees.
I guess so. I don't know.
But get back to
um,
Jack Pierce. So did he do all the Universal monsters?
um, I don't think he did them all, but I think he did Frankenstein. I do believe he did um shit. Well, he might have done Wolfman, but no, because that was Lon Chaney. Um,
Did Lon Chaney do the special effects too?
he did. Lon Chaney was known as the Man of a Thousand Faces, and
Oh,
yeah, he did the makeup for Phantom. He did um shit London Before Midnight, which no one has seen technically. Um, yeah, he was a well-versed makeup artist and like full kit and everything. Like there's a classic photo of him in the Phantom makeup holding up his kit. I'm sure you've seen it in passing, maybe. If I showed it to you, you'd know it.
yeah, more than likely.
But yeah,
Did he do
yeah, Hunchback of Notre Dame. That was him.
I don't even know if this is Universal. I think it is. But the special effects I really loved from like that era was like Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. Was that Lon Chaney? He's in that, right?
I don't know. I don't recall.
Hold on, I'm gonna look
See,
that
this
up real
is
quick.
why. Yeah, this is why we come to our friend Google.
Yeah, it is him.
Is it?
But he says he only
Okay.
played the dark side, so he played Mr. Hyde.
I suppose so. It's been a while since I've seen that movie. Like the older one, like I stick to the classics. Like I think my favorite Universal monster is the creature from the Black Lagoon. But
Okay.
like, Frankenstein, Dracula, Creature, even Invisible Man, you know, stick with the core classics.
Yeah,
Dr. Jekyll, he's a little bit of a sub-side character category, but still a classic, you know.
I don't know what came first, but don't they the Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde transformation's a lot like the Wolfman transformation.
I think one of the early renditions of Hyde, it's like an old black and white trick. There's a movie, I don't know what it is, but I always see an example of it. There's a video of an old movie. It's a woman, she's a witch, but they do an on-screen transformation from her being the woman to the witch.
Yeah, I've seen
And
that.
like, yeah, so like that's all in camera done. And what they did for that was, since it's black and white, you can't see color, right? So they had two different lights. They had a green light and a red light. And they did like the witch makeup, say like in the green, like they did the hollows of the cheeks and the black teeth and the furrowed brows and the wrinkles. It's all green, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they filmed her as the regular woman in the green light. Then they started to fade out the green light to the red light, and that makes the green pop beneath the red. So it's like all in camera illusion, like it starts to grow on her, and you just see that change happen in screen.
Oh, so the green makeup is hidden by the green light, but when you change the light, the green makeup shows.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's really cool. You could probably still do something like that today. You're giving
Oh,
me
for sure.
ideas. Giving me ideas.
Like if The Bachelor called for something like that, you could totally do that. And actually, that kind of gives me an idea for, you know, I don't know if you want to say it or not, but
You can talk about whatever. I don't know what you're gonna say, but yeah.
Oh, what the fact that you were working on a sequel for The Bachelor.
Oh, The Bachelor Sex Man Goes to Hell.
Yeah. So I
What do
felt like
you?
that could have some cool vibes with like theater play of seeing how hell works, but you could also have like some maybe potentially some demon transformations in that same method. Perhaps, perhaps.
Yeah, and I definitely do want to explore that era of special effects because I feel like in the first Bachelor, it's like the an ode to like the Keatons and the Chaplins and the comedy of the
Yeah,
time. And it's still going to be a comedy, but I really want to explore the special effect aspect of it. Just because I had so much fun doing that in the first one with like the makeup and the lighting and all that jazz. But you mentioned
right.
Creature. I had actually never seen Creature. I love it now. I watched it about 2 or 3 years ago because The Shape of Water is one of my favorite movies, and obviously Creature's
Hey,
inspired by the or Shape of Water is inspired by Creature.
yep.
They actually look
I'd
almost
say if
identical.
anything that yeah, that's like a modern take on it. It's like a lot of people give it shit, but Kevin Bacon's Hollow Man, that's a 2000s fucking remake of Invisible Man, 100%. And a lot of people
See,
are like, "Oh yeah, it is."
in my head canon, the creature that's captured in the shape of water is the same creature from the creature of the Black Lagoon, since he's like a deity.
Yeah.
So I don't. Maybe
See,
that's real
and that's
canon.
what I like. Maybe. And that's what I like about Creature and like really all Universal monsters. Like this is not a profound thing. People have said this before, but the monsters of the Universal era, they are victims. They are victims of their circumstances and situations. Like Frankenstein's monster did not ask to be created, and he does not know what he is, what he comes from, what's right, what's wrong. He's basically a giant infant, but he does a bad thing and he gets condemned for it, and he doesn't understand. Same little creature. Creature is just doing his thing. He's living in his lagoon, living his best life. Man comes into it and says, "Oh no, a monster!" Ah, like no, you came into his house. Like you're screwing with him. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I actually see a lot of similarities between like creature and predator in a way because you're definitely right. Like he's not in the wrong, but he is the monster out of all those Universal monsters that is the one that like goes on the attack to defend his like territory. And
Yeah.
I feel like you kind of get that same deal in like the first Predator movie.
Oh no, Predator's just a dick. He's hunting for sport.
Oh yeah, but he didn't ask to be hunted, even though he's hunting them.
I guess, but yeah, I don't know.
It's kind of
I
the
do like
same
Predator
in
though.
Creature
Predator's
because
good.
like Creature's hunting the guys, the people on the boat that are on his island or wherever they are, and they're
Yeah,
hunting
but they
him.
started it though. Yeah,
Yeah, but
they started it.
I see
Like
some parallels.
yeah, if I remember correctly, like I think what kind of kicks off with that all happening is the woman she's swimming and he kind of like touches her foot. He gets like fascinated by her,
Yeah,
and like it's like, oh no, a monster, and then like get away from my woman, blah. And then they start going on a hunt for him. But
that's what I love about the Shape of
but yeah,
Water too. It's like they start it, and he doesn't even try to finish it in that movie. He just wants to be free.
yeah.
Such a good movie.
Shape of Water is fantastic, and like, and I love that it got Doug Jones recognition that he deserves because like he's the dude. You've seen him 1,000 times. You just don't know you have. But this one, it was very, out there that this is this is our creature. This is Doug Jones. This is what he's done. This is what he's done previously, and you know him from this. Blah blah blah. Most people, if they know him, know him. They know him from like Hocus Pocus because
Well,
he's
see,
Billy
that's
Butcherson.
the thing. I love Billy Butcherson as a character, but I didn't know it was Doug Jones until you told me.
See, there you go. And in Del Toro flicks, he's always like four characters.
Yeah, I was gonna bring up Del Toro and Tim Burton, and because to me, both of them, in their own way, are like the modern German expressionists. Do you know what I'm
Oh, for
saying?
sure.
Yeah, and
Yeah, like Del Toro does more of like the steampunky vibe and like the alchemy, and then Tim Burton's more like the gothic aesthetic. Like Del Toro loves harsh angles. Burton loves swirls and soft things. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they both
Definitely see
tell
the
like
parallels.
there's exceptions. Like I feel like Mimic is an exception for Del Toro, but for the most part, they both
Yeah,
tell like gothic romances. You know.
yeah. Actually, if you want to get in like if you want to get in like the exceptions of like Mimic, I would say Blade 2 even, because he did Blade 2. That's not that doesn't seem like it's very Del Toro, but then when you learn more about Del Toro, you're like, oh, those vampires with the split mouth, they definitely are Del Toro.
And I love his Hellboys.
I think everybody loves his Hellboys, especially with the Hellboys we've been given after the fact. Mhm. Actually, you know what? I'm not even going to be an asshole like that. I'm going to be productive and say that I like the David Harbour Hellboy. I just felt like it wasn't fleshed out enough. And I saw its flaws and some things that bothered me personally, like with the makeup and all. But I like the design of Hellboy and I like what they were going with. But I feel like it's like if you gave us Hellboy 2 instead of before 1. It's like, okay, well, we have this whole world, but we don't know anything about it. Like you're trying to piggyback off of another world, another take on this universe, but do your own thing. It's like we don't know enough about you for you to be this deep. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. And I haven't seen it, but I did like the design too. And I think they do that a lot though, like what you were just talking about with like those sequels that are all coming out that a new movie hasn't been made in like 10, 20 years. Like I think they just expect the audience to already know. So they never develop like the philosophy of the story.
I was that's one of those things too. It's like when you get those legacy sequels or whatever you want to call them, it's like it's a tough line to cross and teeter on because you need to have it based in its foundation of what came before for the people that know it, but you also need to do something fresh and relative that introduces it to people that make them want to go back and look at the old thing. But if you do that new thing, it pisses off the old people, and the new stuff or then the old stuff pisses off the new people because they don't know what the hell you're talking about. You know what I mean? So it's like
Yeah.
you really can't please that audience, and it's a tough fight to win.
Yeah, it's rarely done right. And I don't know if you're like a Karate Kid fan, but I feel like Cobra Kai, the show, is like one of the only things that's done that right.
I have never seen Cobra Kai.
It's a good show. I mean, it's a little there's a little like teenage melodrama in there that you got to get through, but you can deal with that. It's a pretty good show. And then by the last
Fair.
season, that's pretty much gone. So
I think I'm just one of those guys who misses Mr. Miyagi. So
I do too, and I think they do the character justice in that. Apparently,
okay,
they're making like a young Miyagi movie, or it's in talks at least.
are they? I know they're
Yeah,
coming out with another Jackie Chan one.
that's out. That's out. That's
Oh, is that already?
yeah, and you know, I didn't know this either, but I never watched the Jackie Chan one because I didn't like that they replaced Miyagi. But you know, he's not actually
Yeah.
Miyagi. He's like called Mr. Han, and he's like a different guy, but he just knows Miyagi's karate.
Yeah. It's kind of what they did with I hate to even put this in a comparison, but the Dragon Ball Evolution movie. It's like here's Grandpa Gohan and here's Roshi, but not really.
Well, in this new one that came out, the Karate Kid Legends, so Ralph Macchio's Daniel travels to see Mr. Han, and they train a student together.
Okay.
But you know, I don't know how they're gonna do a young Miyagi movie because I don't think you can really replace Pat Morita. But I give it a try because Cobra Kai was done so well.
Fair.
But to transition into something here while we're talking about Del Toro and unfinished trilogies, I wanted to talk to you about Sam Raimi.
Yeah. Okay. That is actually something I want to go back to because when you're asking me about my influences, something I said Wishmaster.
Yeah.
Wishmaster was definitely one of my first ones where I'm like, oh, I like that monster. But that's not the movie that solidified me into effects. The movie that solidified me into effects was, of course, Evil Dead. Evil Dead 1, Evil Dead 2, Army of Darkness. I know how every effect in Evil Dead 1 is done. Hands down. That's my first like full breakdown research, knowing everything about that. Cuz that's the epitome of what it's all about. There were kids who wanted to make a movie. Didn't know how to make a movie, didn't know what to do next, didn't know this, didn't know that, but they made a movie. And that's where I was. Did not know how to do this, but I was going to learn it. And I figured it out and I did some stuff. And it's like learning stuff from watching the movies and, the interviews and stuff like that. You learn it. And like that, like I said, that's the epitome of what I am. I want to do this. I know I want to do this. They did it. I can do it. Because this isn't like, you know, $8 million huge studio. This is college students going to Tennessee in the woods with a camera. That's it. That's all you need.
Yeah, I think that's another. I've only seen Evil Dead 2. I'll admit that. But I think that's another, like,
Tisk tisk.
two movies where the effects are cheesy, but you don't care because they fit the aesthetic of everything else going on and you have a good story.
Exactly. Like the first Evil Dead, it's kids trying to make a legitimate horror movie, but it's cheesy as shit because it's trying to be serious, but then you're like, oh, there, okay, that's goofy. But then, like, Sam Raimi loves Three Stooges, so there's a lot of slapstick and stuff like that, and he gets more into that. So as the Evil Dead series goes, it definitely plays to its strengths of being goofy. So, like, when in Evil Dead 2, like, the lamp starts laughing at him, or like the blood gushes from the walls. It's over the top and ridiculous, but it's okay because the cheesiness of this aesthetic with the goofy slapstick and all works for it. It complements it. It is the world that they're in.
I remember my
And they
mom. Sorry.
I was saying they do get goofier as they go. That's all I was gonna say on that.
Yeah, I was going to comment on the goofiness a little bit with a story. So when I was growing up, I remember my mom. She was like, "Evil Dead 2 is the scariest movie I ever saw." So she eventually rented from Blockbuster. Yeah, I'm that old that Blockbuster was still around. Uh,
Or a Blockbuster. I
so
miss Blockbuster.
she was doing like a catering job at the time, so she was away for the whole day, and it was just me, my sister, and stepdad. And we had like we would get like 3 or 4 different movies from Blockbuster. So the whole day we're just kind of in the house watching these movies, and it was like King Kong. I don't remember which one, but it was the one that came out in like the early 2000s.
The one
But
with Jack Black in it,
was it Jack Black?
the Peter Jackson one.
Yeah, the Peter Jackson one.
Yeah.
And then another one was Evil Dead 2, and that's the one we watched last because we were waiting for the nighttime, and I was anticipating like, I'd already seen like The Exorcist and this movie Rose Red that's really scary from Stephen. It's like a Stephen King novel. I don't know
Yeah, I
if you've seen
remember
it.
that. Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, we'd get horror movies all the time, right? So I was accustomed to horror movies, and I'm expecting Evil Dead 2. Like, oh, this is gonna be the scariest thing I ever saw in my life. And I remember the there's a scene with the blood gushing, right? I think you just talked about it actually with the blood gushing, and then the girl character, she like doesn't she hide under like the floorboards or something? Okay, so we're rolling. All right, so to the listeners, real quick, I know I was in the middle of a story when this happened, and I'll get back to the end of the story in a second, but Gary's computer died. His laptop died.
Womp womp.
So we had to reset. We're back at it. We'll finish the conversation. What's the last thing you heard me say, Gary?
Uh, you got Evil Dead 2 from Blockbuster. You were waiting for the night because you're excited for something scary because you had just seen The Exorcist. And bleh.
Yeah, so my mom tells me it's the scariest movie she's ever seen, scariest movie ever made. So wait all night, all day for it. We're finally watching it, and I remember it got to that scene where like the blood is gushing from the walls. And I asked you a question actually right before your laptop died, but then there's a scene that follows that, or it's before that, where like the girl character hides under like floorboards or something. Am I wrong about that? Or she like goes, there's like a hole in the floor, right?
It's the cellar. It's the basement.
Okay, yeah, she's in the cellar. And I can't remember how it looks, but I remember as a kid she dies, right?
Yeah, so in Evil Dead 2, it's Henrietta in the basement. But Bruce gets thrown down there and stuff like that, so they already know it's there. In the first one, it's one of his friends, or it's his sister Cheryl. So if it's the second one you've seen, it's Henrietta. So it's an older woman, and then she
Yeah.
turns into the long necked monster.
No, maybe I've seen the first one then, not the second one.
Ah, there is blood,
Because it's a
but there
younger
is
girl.
blood gushing in the second one.
And there's no blood gushing in the first one.
Um, Not like that I can recall.
I wonder if I've seen
You might
both
have
and I
seen
just don't
both,
know
and you
it
might be
then. Because
mixing
I,
them.
yeah, I think I'm mixing them. Because the girl in the first time in the cellar, isn't there like a head explosion or her eyeballs pop out or something?
So that happens to Henrietta. So when she's like the big elephant monster, her head. You might be thinking about Bobby Joe, who is the wife of oh, I think his name is Daniel Hicks. Don't hate me, people, for not remembering that name. Uh, Shit, he was like the redneck character.
Okay.
Ed.
Yeah.
No, not Ed. Is it Ed? No, Ed's the other guy.
I was 12 watching this, so
Shit.
I barely remember anything.
Yeah, I should know his name. Fuck. Anyways, so like his wife is Bobby Joe, like a super attractive, like rednecky girl too, always spitting tobacco and stuff like that. But
Okay.
sh-
This character was attractive from what I
so it might
remember.
be Bobby Joe you're thinking of, but Henrietta is in the cellar in the second one. Uh, she's the witch in the cellar. But after she's already transformed into the big elephant neck monster, the Pee-wee head, if you will, there's a scene where her
Yeah.
head gets stuck between the cellar door when they're trying to close it. And so Ash jumps on it, and the eyeball goes flying out into Bobby Joe's mouth.
That's what I remember. Okay. Yeah. That's what I'm thinking of. So I have seen two,
Okay, yep, that's
not
two.
one.
Yep,
Okay. Because I remember an attractive girl and I remember the eyeball.
yep,
I was just conflating the
okay,
things.
yep.
But anyway, okay. So the point I was trying to make is I waited all day to watch this movie, and then I see that after my mom told me it's the scariest movie ever made, and I'm just like, this fucking sucks.
Wow.
But looking back now, I have an appreciation for it, and I really do think that it works, and it's not necessarily scary, but it's a fun watch. Like House, House isn't really scary, but
Yeah.
it's a fun watch.
And that eyeball gag is very much a Three Stooges gag. Like 100%.
See, I didn't know that about Sam Raimi, and I also am a guy who loves the Three Stooges, so I might have to get into more of his stuff.
Yeah. So.
Was it you who recommended Darkman?
Oh yeah, Darkman's awesome. If it wasn't me, I do recommend it. And then you also have someone else that has good taste. That was his take on Superman, or not Superman, but a superhero. He wanted to do a superhero movie.
Yeah, because
He
yeah,
couldn't get anybody to go on board with him to do it. So what do you do? He made his own. That is his creation. That's his character.
and I really like Darkman. I think I've seen Darkman 1 and 2 now.
There's a,
Did he do 2?
yeah, I believe so. And that's when it goes from Liam Neeson to shit. What's his name? The guy who plays the mummy in the Brendan Fraser mummies.
What is his name?
I can't. What's his name?
I don't
Yeah.
know.
But yeah. So
But I know the
yeah.
guy.
So Liam Neeson's the first one, and then from there it's him. Yeah, it's like I always remember a line from that movie too. It's when he had just gotten the synthetic skin going on, so he goes out with his wife, who she thought he was dead. Blah blah. Blah. They go out to a carnival. He wins a prize, but the carney is like, you got to do this to win the prize. You don't get the prize, and he breaks his hand to get the elephant and freaks her out. And he's just like, I got this for you. Here, I got this for you. She's like, no. He goes, take the fucking elephant. It's just funny as shit. It's the delivery of it.
Was Deadpool already a character when Darkman was created, or Because I feel like they have like similarities.
Uh, I think so. I think at that time maybe Deadpool was not quite the version that we know because the first incarnation of Deadpool was Deadpool the Terminator, and he was very much just a carbon copy of Deathstroke. He didn't get goofier until later.
Yeah, when was it that he was like doing all the fourth wall? That had to be like late '80s, '90s that
I
started, right?
believe so.
All the fourth wall breaking. Yeah. Well, I mean, I didn't mean to segue into this, but we're talking about comics now for some reason, and I feel like if I have you on a podcast, there's something we have to talk about.
It's gonna be the clown, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the clown.
All right. I like talking about it, but I feel like it makes me very one note because like that's my obsession.
No, it's not. So you saw my video I did on The Man Who Laughs.
Yes.
I didn't realize how much they made Gwynplaine, or not they, so opposite. I didn't realize how much they made Cesar Romero's Joker look like Gwynplaine until I was doing that video and like looking at the two side by side.
Oh yeah.
Like it's pretty uncanny.
Yeah. Yeah, actually, um, the man who laughs is, from my understanding, is the main inspiration for the Joker. Uh, Bill Finger
Yeah.
and Bob Kane. Uh, I think it was Bill Finger mostly. I'm not gonna get into that whole back and forth, but I think it was Bill Finger the most who found that similarity and made their own character for it.
Yeah, and even still, like, I think it's still an inspiration in modern Jokers because I know, like, in most, at least cinematic Jokers, most movie Jokers, he has different reasons for, why he looks the way he does.
Right.
But the Dark Knight, Heath Ledger Joker, the explanation for his mouth is that, he had the razor blades and he cut it up, and that's the reason Gwynplaine looks like that, is because he was a gypsy, and he was tossed to the side and they sliced his mouth open
Right.
to make him look like that. So, Man Who Laughs is still inspiring Joker, but with that being said, tell us a little bit about why you love the Clown Prince. What's your favorite movie Joker? What don't you like?
All right. So I it comes off as very cliche, but I think he's the greatest comic book villain there is because like he's the epitome of what a villain is. It's like I like that he doesn't have a backstory. If he does, it's very obtuse and like obscure. No one knows if he's telling the truth. Like going back to like the Heath Ledger thing, you said the razor blades. That's one of the stories he tells. He tells multiple stories of what happened to him. So that makes him unreliable of his past, makes him an unreliable narrator. You can't trust anything he says. Same deal. Over the years, he's had different stories by different artists. Say this happened, that happened. It always changes by the artist, but there's no definitive answer. There has been a story recently, in the past couple of years, that kind of gave a definitive answer. Not a huge fan of it, but it's kind of cool in its own way. But like he's just a force that appeared. He has no background. He has no connections to anybody, not even Batman, but he just wants to cause pure chaos for chaos sake. He's a great villain. And like I feel like there's some like cathartic release in kind of following his journey. Like he's the guy you love to hate. Like he does despicable things and you're like, wow, that's messed up he did that. It's like, but you're enjoying it. It's kind of like playing a video game where it's like, Grand Theft Auto, like you can run people over on the street. You're not gonna do that in real life, but you experience it secondhand in a, video game. It's like, that's messed up. So same thing with Joker. Like he does the stuff that you wouldn't even think about doing. Or maybe the things that we do secretly think about doing, but never would because it's not right. He's the outlet for that. He's the, you know, yeah, he's like the outlet for that.
He's the perfect character for cinema because everything you just said, like I think Tarantino talks about that a lot, about how a movie is supposed to be about, exploring all the fantasies of stuff you can't do in real life.
Yeah,
And Joker as a character is just that incarnate.
pretty much. Like you truly see the psychology of how that works, and like that's why I like Batman as a comic book character. It's like a lot of people are like, yeah, Batman's a cop out. He's not a real hero, blah blah. But it's not about that. It's about the psychology of dealing with certain things, and it's like philosophy at the same time too. It's like there's concepts of like, does Batman create the villains that he fights? Like, would there be a Joker? Would there be a Scarecrow? Would there be a Two Face if there wasn't a guy parading around as a bat? You know what I mean? And in the
Yeah,
same respect, with Batman and Joker, they are polar opposites. They have the same situation, but a different reaction. So Batman saw his parents get killed when he was a kid. So something tragic happened to him. And he was like, I'm never going to let this happen to anybody else ever again. Joker, on the other hand, had something tragic happen to him. And he says, this happened to me. Why shouldn't it happen to someone else? So it's two people dealing with the same situation, but in different ways.
they do have like a perfect, like, I don't want to call it chemistry, but synergy, the perfect synergy
I think
together,
chemistry is appropriate
two
too,
polar opposites.
because as you get more
Yeah.
into comics as well, you like there's a story arc that's relatively new. It's probably like 10, 15 years old now. It's called Death of the Family. It's Joker's disappeared for a year. He had cut off his face, left his face pinned to the wall of GCPD, disappeared. We hadn't seen him for a year. We hadn't seen him in any comics. No one knew anything about him. He was gone. He comes back, steals his face, straps it on with a belt, and his goal is to kill the Bat family. That's all your Robins, your Batgirls, your Red Hood, everybody that is an offshoot of Batman, because he feels that they've kind of watered him down and made him unreliable. He's not the same Batman that he fell in love with. So he wants to clean the plate, get rid of them, and get back to the game of how it used to be, because they complete each other. So like you get into their lovey romance in that sense. Like there's another great story, it's deep in symbolism, psychology, stuff like that. It's Arkham Asylum, Serious House on Serious Earth. I love the art style of that book, but there's a lot of symbolism, and it touches on a lot of like the homoerotic uh, tendencies of both of them. Like so basically that story is Joker's walking Batman through Arkham Asylum, parading him through all the villains and stuff like that. It's like, this is your house of madness. And like there's scenes where he's like Joker's grabbing Batman's ass and he's like, "Ooh, you're being
Oh,
like kinky." Ugh. But then Batman's all tense and it's like slapping him away, punching him like homophobically. So it's like they're in love, but only one's expressing it truly.
what's that one called?
Arkham Asylum, Serious House on Serious Earth. It's got like a pastel kind of
Serious
like
House on
art style.
Serious
It's
Earth.
really cool.
I'm gonna check that one out.
Definitely. And you like symbolism, so it's in there.
Oh, I do, I do. I was gonna say I know we both have a love for Mark Hamill's Joker and Batman the Animated Series, but originally when I was talking about doing a podcast with you, one of the ideas was actually talking about Joker. So now that I trapped you into this, and we're talking about it now, uh, just quickly, give me your ranking of live action Jokers.
Live action?
Yeah, starting from
Shit.
last to first.
Like worst to best?
Yeah, worst to best.
All right, well, worst has to be Jared Leto, 100%. Which is a
No
shame
argument.
because I had I was scared for him the first time, but then as it kept going, I was like, maybe there's potential here, and I still think there is potential there. The Zack Snyder cut showed some potential, but then he did the same shit again, and it's like, ugh. But there was potential there, but didn't work. So he's last. Leto.
All right.
Uh, who do we got? Who do we got? Who's around? Uh, I had them in front of me. This would be easier. So there's Leto. I'd say Cesar Romero is third, not because I don't like him, but because he's a product of the time. You know what I mean? He's a classic. He's an OG. He's an OG. But yeah, he's down there. Yeah, fourth. That's what I'm going.
Okay, okay.
Well, I don't know how many we're doing. I don't know how many there are offhand. Ah, so
There's five I can think of. Do you want me to
there
tell
are
you the
five.
five I can think of?
Yeah, it's only five. I know Jack Nicholson, Jared Leto, Heath Ledger, Cesar Romero.
And
What else
Joaquin
we got?
Phoenix.
Oh yeah, Joaquin Phoenix. See, I'm so separated from that one now.
I haven't seen Joker 2. I actually hear good things about it though, so I'm gonna give it a chance.
It's not good. I'm sorry.
But okay,
It's
so
not.
we got
All right,
Leto and we got Romero. Who's next?
all right, I'll do Leto, Romero. I will do Joaquin Phoenix there, number three.
All right.
I really liked the first one. I thought it was fresh take. We can touch on that in a second if you want to do that. Um, I'll do Heath Ledger second, and I'll do Jack Nicholson first. And it's kind of weird because I'm kind of like doing like when we talked about like the rankings of like the brats. It's like, do you go
Yeah.
by off of quality, quantity, legacy? What do we do here? You know what I mean?
A little bit of everything. You got to kind of mesh it all
Yes.
together.
Yeah. So like Jack Nicholson's Joker is not like the best Joker, but he's like the Kickstarter of like the cinematic Jokers, even though that's just Jack Nicholson in clown makeup. But it was our first time seeing it. It's probably what most of us grew up seeing, besides the Cesar Romero. So he gets like the legacy spot. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Jack Nicholson as a person is just the Joker, but mentally stable.
Yeah, I'd say.
Now,
And I think
if
his characters kind of reflect that a little bit too.
yeah, he's always just Jack Nicholson, but it always
Yeah,
works because he's great.
right.
But I don't want to get too much into what ifs, but if Ledger didn't die in the making of the Dark Knight, do you think he would have surpassed Jack Nicholson? Because that's he won an Oscar for that, right? So he was the first
Yeah, it
comic
was
book
a
character I think to win an Oscar, right?
yeah, it was a what do they call it? Prometheus? No, not Prometheus. It's you win the award after you've died. But I feel like if he didn't die, they wouldn't have done that. It's kind of shitty to say, but I think that's true. And not
I don't
saying,
know.
you know, it lacks from his performance. Like his performance is great. It's just that comic book movies don't get recognized like that. And it sucks because some of them are really good. And like Nolan was the one that brought like comic book movies to like realism and like oomph. Like he did some things with Batman that I personally don't like, but like you can't argue with what he's done for comic book movies. Like he brought them back essentially. Because before that, the last Batman movie we got was what? Batman and Robin? From like what was that? 2002? No, 2001, 2000?
Yeah, really early. I
And
remember seeing that in theaters.
yeah, and that was probably arguably like the most hated Batman.
It's my favorite of the Tim Burtons.
It's not Tim Burton though.
Well, it's his universe.
Yeah, but it's the universe that got like screwed
Look,
because
maybe
that's
it's
what happened.
nostalgia. I like that movie. I
I mean,
like Batman and Robin.
oh, don't get me wrong. Like I like them all too. Like I will watch them all still and still have a good time with them. But you got to
I
point out the cheese.
I think of the Nolan trilogy. Batman Begins is actually my favorite, even though I'm a
Sa-
huge Heath Ledger
Same,
fan. Yeah,
same. I love seeing his build up to the League of Assassins. Um, I love seeing Scarecrow as a primary villain. Scarecrow gets like no love in lots of things. I It sucks what they did with him later on in the trilogy. It kind of wasted him after that, but it was cool seeing Scarecrow. You know what I mean?
I hated
And
Rises
Ra's al
personally.
Ghul, I think everybody did.
It just
Well,
turned into Sorry, go ahead.
God, okay,
I was just gonna say I'm not a huge Christopher Nolan fan. I know everyone thinks he's like a fucking genius or he's like the reincarnation of Stanley Kubrick or something, but I like a couple of his movies, but I just can't really get into Christopher Nolan, and I feel like Dark Knight Rises just became a Christopher Nolan movie where the other two were like good movies, good raw movies, like where you cared about
Yeah,
the characters and whatever. It just became a big action movie.
yeah. And like I love early Christopher Nolan. Like I love Memento. I love Insomnia.
Yeah, The
But like
Prestige.
The Prestige, yeah. Oh, that's right. He did The Prestige. That's a good movie too. But like if you give me like Christopher Nolan said, like what's your favorite? People are gonna say like Inception, shit like that. I'm gonna say Memento. I'm gonna be that guy. Memento is my favorite Christopher.
So I don't like Inception, and I can't stand Molly. My wife loves Inception. It's one of her favorite movies. So it's something we like get into little fun arguments about sometimes.
I watched it
But
just to get it off the list.
but any like post Inception Nolan, I just really can't get into.
Yeah. And like honestly, like I I do like the big opening of Dark Knight, like the bank robbery, because that's cool with all the clowns and stuff like that, and like the zip line. It's cool. But I feel like he kind of rehashed that in Rises with the airplane,
Yeah,
and it was just like bam, big in your face, as opposed to here's a cool actiony thing with some, comedic effect, blah blah. It was just like trying to like Mission Impossible it. Unnecessary. And it's a shame too because I love Bane as a character, and I like seeing Bane as more than just a meathead, like he was in. Was that Batman and Robin, or was that Batman? That was Batman and Robin, I think. Because Batman's or Bane, he's a tactical genius. Like he's the one who figured out who Batman was, broke him. Like he defeated Batman. He was the first one to do it, and with not just brawn, but with brains. And so I liked seeing an approach where they gave him some intelligence and made him a challenge, but it didn't last too long.
yeah.
Ultimately making him a lovesick puppy. It was like, okay, sure, you say so.
No, I did pull up who Heath Ledger beat that year for the Oscar,
Hmm.
and I still think he probably would have won because the two guys he beat are Michael Sheen for The Reader and Philip Seymour Hoffman for Doubt, and I've never heard of either of those movies.
Fair, but I don't know. Not knowing what doubt is, Philip Seymour Hoffman at the time. I mean, that's a close one. You can screw that.
Yeah, like Philip Seymour Hoffman was great at the time, and I mean always
Yeah,
great, but yeah, maybe the death pushed it over the edge, but I still think he had a shot at winning it. I mean, being nominated is, you know, an
right.
honor in
And like,
itself.
and that's not me knocking Heath by any means or anything like that. That's just me saying that the Academy does not recognize comic book films that often. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
even going back to like horror, like it took forever for special effects to even get recognized as a field. And Rick Baker won that award for American Werewolf in London. Like makeup was never really taken seriously. Like it is now. Like there's a makeup category. There wasn't before.
I mean the whole way the Academy works is weird to me because I don't know. You have guys who've only ever won one Oscar that have been in the best movie of the year several times. Um,
Yeah,
it's more or less like a popularity contest in my opinion. But I don't. It
yeah.
just matters so
And like
much in
I've
that
been
world.
seeing a lot of interviews with Sam Jackson lately. Because like I've been seeing a lot of Tarantino stuff, so it kind of like wheelhouses into him.
Yeah,
And I've seen like 4 interviews where Sam Jackson says, I don't make movies where I'm chasing Oscars. I don't pick a movie because it's like, oh, I'm gonna win an Oscar for this. He goes, I pick movies I want to see. I do popcorn films. That's the shit I want to see, like Snakes on a Plane. It's goofy, it's fun. I'm having a good time. I'm doing what I love doing. That's what I'm looking for when I make a movie. I think that
and
kind of sums that
that's.
up.
I think Samuel L. Jackson's a guy who could have been nominated for an Oscar a few times and he wasn't. I mean,
Same.
and in Django, like him, Jamie Foxx, and Leo should have been nominated in my opinion.
Yeah, but it was just Leo, I believe, wasn't it?
I don't think Leo got nominated.
Oh, I thought he did.
He didn't win. I know that, but
Yeah.
maybe he was. But transitioning as we're talking about Oscars, let's talk about the first living Joker to win an Oscar.
Jack Nicholson?
No, Joaquin Phoenix.
Yeah, well, for being Joker.
Yeah, for being Joker. Yeah,
Okay.
my
Let's
bad.
say, yeah, I was gonna say that's some preference there.
Just because
Yeah,
Jack Nicholson's the Joker all the time doesn't mean that he won the Oscar for his performance as Joker.
true. But we're talking about people who have played Joker, who have won Oscars.
But I really liked the first Joaquin Phoenix Joker just because it was basically I mean, I love Todd Phillips. He makes great movies. And it was basically a Scorsese movie. It was Taxi Driver mixed with the King of Comedy.
Yeah,
And if anyone watched my Movie Brats video, you guys know I love me some Scorsese.
yeah, and I agree. I think that was a great take for Joker. Um, like you said, it's very King of Comedy. It's very Taxi Driver, and that was the thing that was pointed out against it a lot because it's just they're like, oh, it's a carbon copy. It's just you pop this guy instead of Travis Bickle, which fair, but at the same time, it's a good take on a character that you can approach different ways without overstepping things. Like I know we've had this conversation plenty because I bring up DC uh, when you kind of just tell me to shut up. Uh, but I think that's what DC should do is they should do black label one-offs like that. They should not worry about focusing on a universe because that's kind of what hurt Snyderverse. Because it's like, oh, we got to catch up with Marvel and get all these characters out, and that doesn't work because you're rushing the shit out of it. But just take your characters, give them one-offs that tell a story or an origin or whatever, and move on to the next or do a different version of that. Give it a different director, kind of like what Blumhouse does, like with upcoming directors. They're like, hey, we're an indie house. Here's your budget. Go make a movie. Do that, but with DC characters.
Yeah.
Like I know I've brought up a Ra's al Ghul version of that, and I would love to see that where like we talk about how he's. I don't want to talk too much about it because it's going to steal my idea. But
Well, don't you want them to?
I don't know, but maybe I want to do it. I don't know. But go into his origin, and I think it's good to like touch on origins, but like don't introduce Batman and maybe introduce Gotham at the end of things. It's like have them all end with them saying, "Oh, I discovered Gotham City. See what happens here." And then ends. You know what I mean? It's like have it all kind of point in the direction of Gotham and Batman, but never have them and just explore the villains. I feel like that could be a cool road to go down. And there's so many different characters to do it with. There's Ra's al Ghul, there's Clayface, there's Killer Croc, Bane. Like you could do a million different things.
Yeah, I agree because, what they've been trying to do is create a universe like Marvel, but like Marvel's took 20 years and it organically kind of happened.
Yeah, exactly.
So you can't force it all to happen in like the span of 5 years.
Right. Especially with some of these characters because there's depth to them, you know?
Yeah, 100%. And I like that idea of just doing the one offs because you can really focus on that story and not worry about the overall like universe and what's going on.
Right. See, now I will say, like, I don't know what James Gunn is doing with the DC universe right now, but from what I do know, I'm I'm hopeful because things he's done have not been bad. Like he knows what he's doing when it comes to filmmaking, clearly. But it's also a little worrisome too because, like, from what I understand, with the Superman movie coming out, we're gonna see like Mr. Terrific, Hawkman, Hawkgirl, Mephisto, all these different characters.
Hmm.
And basically, we're kind of jumping right into it. We're not getting an origin. These characters have been around, they're established in this world. We're just being introduced to it for the first time. But these characters have been around. People know about them, they're doing their thing. So we're just kind of jumping into the world where they left off, Which that has potential. I could see that working. But at the same time, if it's not done right, I could see it being like too much all at once.
We'll see. We'll see how it works out, right?
Plus, we're seeing
But
crypto for the first time. I
uh,
kind of like that. It's weird, but I kind of like it.
I mean, I do like the idea of seeing like Hawk Girl and like those obscure like Justice League characters that don't really get talked about.
Yeah, I mean that's what James Gunn was great for. Like he brings attention to a lot of forgotten characters. Like people didn't know what this fucking uh yeah, I don't even know what it is. Like the Suicide Squad. He did the Suicide Squad. People don't know a lot about Suicide Squad. He didn't do the first one, but same principle. Um, Guardians of the Galaxy. No one knew who they were, but that made people go back and read some of the comics, and you see the vast difference of how those characters are to what he's done. But it's still he brought attention to forgotten characters. Even Monster Squad. Did you see that?
No, I haven't.
It's animation on Max, I think it is. That's like
Hmm.
his first like thing that we're seeing of his DC universe. It's fantastic. It's like Suicide Squad, but like with Universal monsters. Like Bride of Frankenstein's a character. One of the girls is like the Gill Man. Like Mr. Phosphorus is fucking fantastic. Like
It's
it's
on
it's great.
Max.
Yeah, it's crude humor. It's funny. It's a good one. Check it out. It's got some great writing. Like it's got
Get it.
go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just say there's one character called GI Robot. He is a robot that was built during World War II to hunt Nazis. And that's his goal. That's his mission. He's like, are we going to kill some Nazis? Where are the Nazis? And like one of the episodes, I love it. They it goes back to when he gets reactivated. A guy buys him from an army surplus store and reactivates him. And he's like, wow, GI Robot, like you're real. It's cool. It's like I was able to bring you back. It's awesome. I'm gonna take you down to the club. Some boys are really gonna love you. And it turns out it's a rally for Proud Boys. And it's a Nazi rally, and he kills them all.
Ooh.
It was like that was the wrong robot to bring to the show.
that you're talking about Universal monsters again. That actually reminds me of something I did want to bring up. I wanted to talk about like the relationship between the script and the special effects. So when I'm writing a scene that has gore in it, right? I'm thinking about the emotion behind the gore.
Right.
And so when you read a script and you think about building the effect, are you thinking about like the effects it has on the story or character, or are you just thinking about like what's going to work, what's going to look really cool, what's going to show up on camera well? Like what is your process when you're reading the script and then translate it into your like initial idea?
So like when I read it at first, I kind of give my first take on it, and like that's wherever my brain goes, and it's usually like slashers, like in this indie field, it's a lot of doesn't have to look great, just blood and boobs, blah. But no, so like my brain naturally goes like the Friday the 13th stuff like that. So I naturally think of how I would like do it originally. But then like I like to have open communication with people too. Like when I work with you, I've asked you a million questions about things, and it's like aesthetic matters too, because it's like you don't necessarily want like blood spraying like an old samurai movie if you're going for like subtle nuances. You know what I mean? So my brain might first take that approach with like, oh, the blood spray. But like if we talk more and stuff like that, and you're like, well, we're going for like a more subtle approach with like a drip. Well, clearly my original idea doesn't work. So when we discuss that, we adapt. But like if something's bigger, like we were discussing for the goat. I'll just say that the goat.
So yeah, that's actually I was going to bring that up because I don't mind talking about it, but you know working on a film called Black Goat's Gruff, and I wanted to ask you because that is I'm thinking of the scene where we do the rib split, right, the torso split, and that's a pretty cool effect that you're coming up with. So for a bigger gore effect, does that change the way you approach it, or?
Like again, I think it just depends on the circumstances for what the client's looking for and like what the budget is and all. Like my initial thinking of bringing up this topic was the scene with the deer going through the windshield. Like I came up with a way to approach that. You said, "Oh, I was thinking this," and like it's also a matter of perspective too. It's like because I don't necessarily know how you in your mind have the camera, but like I saw where I
Uh,
put the camera for myself. You know what I mean? And where you put the camera totally makes the effect way easier than what I was thinking.
but in a different
But
situation, it could compromise your whole plan if we don't discuss that ahead of time.
exactly. Like if you just want to see the head of the deer come through the windshield from that perspective, like I don't need to build a whole ass deer. You know what I mean? You just build a head. So, and vice versa. Like if you wanted to go the other way, but we didn't discuss that, and I thought your way, all I have is a head. Oops.
So, with that being said, so say there's some filmmaker out there listening to this and they want to reach out to you, hire you, or just general question: how should filmmakers prep the special effects team for like success? How should that communication work?
Just open communication, be open to listening to your artists. Because like we'll even like name drop again, like with Tarantino. Tarantino has said, like he knows the lenses and stuff like that, but he's like, actually, you know what? I might be misquoting the wrong person. It might not be Tarantino, but either way, the point still stands. Like, say that director hires this camera guy because he knows how to do this. He hires that light guy because he knows how to make the lights do that. You know who it was? It was Kevin
Who?
Smith. Those are very different. Those are very different.
Both great in their own right.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, so Kevin Smith, he says that he's like, I don't know what this lens does, but he does. That's why I hired him. He knows what I'm looking for. He knows how to get it done with his equipment. So same thing with like effects artists. Don't come at them with like, okay, I have $10. Do this way. And that's it. Be open to having them talk. Like talk with your people, have your people talk with you. Because it's a collaboration at the end of the day. Like they can tell you what's doable with their skill set and the budget or with the angles you want to do, but you got to communicate. And speaking in a matter of factly sense of like, do it this way now, that doesn't really work with guys like us. Like, yeah, we'll do it because we're doing a job, but,
Yeah.
say hi. We're people. And, and just,
Adversely, oh, go ahead.
yeah, and just have a good concept of like real expectations. Like, I don't know if I've already said this before, but like, there's a concept I tell people all the time when they ask me about it. And I say, in the indie field, everybody wants a $10 million monster, but only have $10 to their name. You know what I mean?
I feel like that's a personal shot.
No, 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 not against you. But there's the people.
Yeah, well, I mean,
Definitely not you.
I think I'm lucky because we share a lot of the same passion and are willing to work together for just the joy of it. But
Yeah,
I do. I'll pat my back. I do pay a little bit.
you do. Yeah, you do.
But adversely
If
to
they,
that question, I'll go ahead.
I was gonna say, if anything, you try to throw me a little something here and there, but in the least, I don't go in the hole with my materials.
But adversely to that question, what advice would you have for young special effects artists or people trying to get into it? Like, what are some must-have tools in the kit? What's the best materials for beginners? Like, how should they start? Like, What would just
It
anything
sucks.
you
Run
would give?
away. Don't do it. Ugh. No,
Right.
no, no,
Start smoking.
no. Yeah, start smoking young, early, fast. No, again, like I'm just gonna steal words from other artists and shit like that, where they say, if you are doing this to get rich or get awards or anything like that, don't bother, because it's not like that. The money is not the greatest. The recognition is, ooh, lucky. If you're lucky, you get some pats on the back, but that's about it. You've really got to do it because you love it. You like making something, you like creating, you like doing magic, you like grossing people out, whatever it is. You got to do it because you like doing it. That's the only thing that's going to keep you doing it. Because I've tried to hang it up a few times myself, and it's like, all right, like learning certain things. I was like, all right, this isn't working. This is like the next step to learning stuff. I can't figure it out. I'm
Yeah.
done. I quit, and I've put it down for like a month, and then I've picked up clay again. It's like you can't walk away from it, even if you say you're going to. You keep coming back to it. It's like a bad, unhealthy relationship, but it's good. Um,
That's pretty beautiful advice.
yeah, but like in the more technical, if you're just starting out, like get your basic stuff out. Like odds are, if you have an interest in it, you've already played with some latex, some scar wax. I personally don't like scar wax anymore these days, but starting out doing some stuff, it's not bad. You can play with it, but graduate from it eventually. Study, study your anatomy, study your biology, and study the people that came before you and that will be here after you. Like, if you don't know names like Jack Pierce or Rick Baker or Greg Cannon or Savini, eh, you're off to a bad start. Uh, do your homework, learn what they learn from them. One thing I still have issues with every once in a while, I recognize this as a problem of my own, but still do it because I'm stubborn and stupid. But like, I'll do say like when I was first doing sculptures for like prosthetics,
Uh-huh.
there's a thing that you do around the sculpture called flashing, and it usually covers the whole base of everything else around it, and then you make the mold from that. Basically, it makes a cutting edge for the piece. So I'm like, okay, well, I only need this edge. So I don't need to do all this clay and all this extra work and use all this material. I could take a shortcut. Okay, so why would I, a guy who just started doing this stuff, magically find a shortcut if the guy who's been doing it for 40 years still does it that way? There isn't a shortcut. That is the way. Just do the way, because that's what they do.
That's where our ego comes into play, and we think that we
Exactly.
know better. Yeah.
Exactly. Every time I've shorted on the flashing, it doesn't work. Yeah. So don't.
All right, those are very wise words from I'll say a mostly often wise man, but these greedy bastards, Gary, they want something tangible. So how about the blood recipe?
Stick with the classics, man. It's corn syrup, red and blue. You gotta put something there to make it a little opaque. You could do cornstarch, but it gets super clumpy. You gotta really work it out. Uh, the old school Evil Dead recipe, they use powdered coffee creamer. I like putting a little bit of yellow in my blood to give it that kind of like iron tinge. And I think that was like my Rob Zombie phase, because his blood's very like orangey, but he's also got like filter tints and stuff on his films. But I love having that like coppery feel to my blood. It looks cool. But also learn that there is not just one color of blood. That's super important in your study too. Different bloods do different things for different reasons. Well,
I want to say when I brought it up a little while ago that I had to do some special effects for a film I worked on, and I called you, and one of the things I had to ask you was your blood recipe because we had no blood, and I will say the blood I made it to the trailer, and it looks really good.
yeah,
And you told me
I
you
like
told
it.
me to add a little yellow, and it looks really good.
Yeah, I like it. That's good. Yeah.
You got anything you want to plug? Like any work you want to shout out or?
Uh Not really doing much these days. Quite yet. I'm trying to pick up the slack on that. Um, we definitely hammed up Troma a lot here, so you should go check them out because Troma is awesome. Power Positive Murder. Don't have a release on that yet. Don't know much about that. I know it went through like a test screening circuit for a second there, but don't know when that gets released. If that doesn't get like a DVD release or a theatrical one, it'll most definitely get released on TromaNow.com, which is their streaming service. Do I work for Troma? This is just a plug for them. I don't work for them no more. Nah, they're cool people. TromaNow.com. Yeah, TromaNow.com. It's awesome. Like it's first month is free, and then it's what $4 after that, and get the whole
It's
catalog.
$4.99, I think. $4.99,
Yeah,
but
all right, still $5. That's not bad compared to everybody else who's like what 15, 20, 25. And you get their whole catalog. You'll find your bread and butter there. You'll find what you like. It's not for everybody, but there's something in there for everybody. Yeah,
All right,
that's all
I
I
got
got.
three rapid fire questions for you, real quick.
All right.
Dream project.
Oh, I really want to do makeup on Doug Jones.
Ooh,
That's that's not like a project, but like that's a goal. I almost had a chance once. Did I ever tell you about that?
yes, right. But tell the listeners. Tell the listeners.
Yeah. So I met someone on the set of what was it? Was it
Vampire
Vampire Santa that
Santa.
met?
Yeah, it was
Was it the first
Vampire
time I met
Santa.
her there?
Yeah.
Named Sarah Joe. She's a makeup artist. She does some dental work. She did the fangs for that film. Um, she got on the set for Hocus Pocus 2, and she made, if I remember correctly, second unit teeth for Bette Midler's character. Um, but she was trying to get me in there to like work on Doug Jones. I was like, I don't need to like apply the makeup. I'll just hold the glue cup. I don't care. Just get me in that room. And she tried real hard, but they're like, nah, like people have been talking about this movie. It's close, it's close knit and, this, that, and the other. Maybe next time. And I was like, shit. All right. But yeah, definitely working on Doug Jones. That's definitely on the list.
Man, I would love to get Doug Jones for Black Coat's Gruff.